Hello, I'm Michael Redmond, professional 9-dan Go player. In this video, I'll be showing the final round of the NONGSHIM Cup. So, in this tournament, China, Japan, and Korea each send a team of 5 players. And when a player loses a game, that player is knocked out. And the winner goes on to the next round, continuing to play players from different countries. So, it's dramatic when someone has a winning streak because the other two countries lose their players one by one. So SHIN Jinseo, in recent games, he doesn't look as invincible as he was, say, a few years ago. And so he makes mistakes. He seems to throw some winnable games occasionally. But in this tournament, before this game, he had 17 straight wins. So that was over a period of 5 tournaments, so roughly 5 years. His last loss in this tournament was in 2019, and that was the 21st NONGSHIM Cup. So this is the 5th tournament after that. And the fact that he's winning all his games means that each time he does that, he's winning the tournament for Korea. Because that means he's wiped out all of the other players. Okay, so let's start looking at the game. Ding Hao has black. The Komogu openings, 3-4 points, they're very popular nowadays. And black is playing something a little bit unusual, something like almost like a mini Chinese opening. This starts to look something like variations I saw with AlphaGo, actually. And it's very much AI-oriented, the way black plays this pincer. If white does anything adventurous towards the bottom side, black is going to cut it off. So even though the ladder favors white, black's going to play this attachment here. And if white takes the ladder, in this case, just connecting up on the right would give black a favorable position. It's the fact that white's ponnuki is not a ponnuki by definition, because that stone, the stone numbered 1 at 04, is spoiling it for white. So that's a wasted stone which takes away all of the value of white's capture towards the center. And in fact, it's making it difficult for white to make a living shape. It's in the way. So this would be an advantage for black. And white played this move. So this is a move we saw in some of the AlphaGo games and in the Master Series where AlphaGo beat all the top pros. And we learned that it's probably not a good idea for black to play this move. So if black plays this move, in this case with all the black stones adjacent, maybe black can pull back here. The joseki we used to play before AlphaGo changed all of that, is this one. And we found that it's actually not so good for black when white pushes through here. So in this position, black could fight it out, something like this, just because black has so many stones in the vicinity. But it's probably not the optimal way to play anyway. So in the game, black played this move. And when black is pincered, it's sort of counterintuitive to be playing this move, which seems to be strengthening white. But the idea is that black can still cut white with this move. And it's sort of hard to say whether white is strong or maybe white is sort of heavy in this shape. So black is continuing to cut white off, and black is probably going to capture this group that white has on the bottom side. So if white immediately did something about that, white could survive, but then white's group on the right would be coming under attack. So when white plays here, white is offering a trade, and that's actually what they did. So in the game, black played here, capturing white on the bottom side, and white got to extend on the right side. So that was a trade where white sacrificed the group on the bottom side. Black did have the option of extending here, in which case white's simplest move would be to play here, making a double threat of 2 cuts on the 3rd line and cutting here. So Black has a choice at this point. Black could play the target here and add another stone to sort of capture white on the side. Although it might be more fun to play this way. And this would be trying to make a squeeze. So if white cuts here, black would squeeze like this. And in this case also, black would be capturing white on the bottom side while keeping white from making two eyes easily on the right side. So white might avoid that by playing the target here. And in this case, if black connects, white can play down here, and this would be a double threat. So in this case, white would capture the corner. So a trade like this is also possible, after which black would switch to another part of the board. So this was an option, although black went for the clean trade. So this was about even, I would say. So here white was probing to see how black would reply towards the corner. And black did this, which made it sort of easy for white to defend the right side. And then black added one move. So the lower side is now a black territory, and we're back to opening moves. So black played the kakari. So in modern Go, you usually see black playing the 3-3 point instead of that move. And this would have been the simpler way to continue the game. So something like this might happen. And it would be reasonably good. This is a Korean tournament, so it's 6.5 point Komi. So this variation is probably good enough, you might say, for black, if you're okay with a close game. So the way black played is it's more of a fighting game. And then black attached here. So maybe he had the feeling he wanted to play this move. This is a very active move. Black could have extended. This would have been a valid move. Maybe white's going to invade here. So a completely different fight. The game move is much more forceful. It means white has to reply on the right. So if white backs away from a trade, this is going to be a better shape for black on the top side. And white cut. So this led to a trade. Okay, up to this point, it still seems to be an even fight, or maybe good for black with a 6.5 point Komi. This is where it seems to be getting difficult for black. So black had various options of trying to make a trade, maybe switching to the 3-3 point at some point. And that's the C17 point in this diagram. Or maybe it was better shaped for black to play this way, which would be pushing here or pushing here. It would be difficult for white to capture those two black stones on the F line on a large scale. So, and in some cases, black will be switching to the corner with an invasion at C17. So black could have done that. And it gets a bit more complicated for black to find a good variation here. It was just not very clear, and he was very straightforward in the game, but this was not very good. So white's getting the top right, top left corner very efficiently, and black has a weak group running out. It looks like it's slightly advantageous for white. So black plays the double hane. White also plays a double hane. So it's very important that white is not playing the cut at d12, which would simplify things, but it would help black too. So it's good for white to be playing this double hane immediately. Obviously, if black plays here, the double atari is devastating. So black extended. And yes, so this is a special move. So this is a move I want to talk about a little bit. It's a very good shape. So intuitively, you would sort of want to play the atari here. And this point, it would still be a good shape move, but it would not be forcing anymore. So in this case, black would have time to run away, and white would not, cutting at d12 would not be a good idea for white. So white's not going to do that. It means that black has escaped fairly cleanly. Cutting on this side, it's still not so good because it gives black very good shape towards the center. White could probably capture 3 stones on the left side, but it would be limited, and black might take the initiative on the top side also. And that would lead to a potential big territory for black in the top right. So this would not be a great success for white. When white starts with this, white's left the option of playing an Atari on the right or an Atari on the left. So if black connects here, now white can play here. In this case, that stone at 1 is not working very well, so black's going to get into trouble here. If black extends this side, in this case, black 1 is not the optimal move. So if we compare it to that other variation where black got good shape in the center, this shape, it's not so good. So white's going to capture the 3 stones on the left, and black's shape in the center is not as good as it was in that other diagram. So black played a hane, and now white had to cut, but it sort of reverts to that variation where white played the Atari and played here, which is a key point. Black would not want to cut here. So cutting here gives white an opportunity to surround black on the left side. So instead of doing that, black would escape immediately in this diagram. And so by prompting black to play this move, white got a position where black cut at a point where black didn't really want to do that. So this was very successful for white, and it was all because of that move at E11, which I find to be exquisite. So black's getting into trouble here. White threatens to cut at D12 and then defends here. So black is being surrounded on the left side. Black has a potential eye on the left side. So black has a forcing move at B10 and can make 1 eye on the left side. So black has to find something on the top side. This strong shape that black has in the center, well, extending shape anyway, black has some potential to surround white there. So that's what black is going to try to do. So this is a key point here. And black has a forcing move at H13, and so can potentially surround white by playing the Atari and then playing here. Black can potentially surround this white group. So, but first black has to take away its eye space. So black plays here. So this is an attempt to make a second eye because black does have a potential eye on the left side. So if black can make an eye with sente on the top side, black will be able to make 2 eyes. So white plays the Atari, and black plays a call. All right. So this was one point where it might have been simpler. It looks like it's still a good variation for white if white plays here. This would allow black to win the ko. Black has a potential eye on the top side. One eye is not good enough, so black will start by making an eye on the left side. That's just 1 eye. So the reason white cannot kill this black group is because white's not alive either. So this would be a crash for white. This would be bad for white. However, if white moves out into the center like this, white's going to be able to play 2 moves. So at this point, black would have to add a stone somewhere. And then white would be able to play another stone in the center. Maybe white would switch to the top right. That's a big move also. Getting 2 moves towards the outside would be enough to give white an advantage in this position. So this was a way for white to keep his advantage. Up to this point, the game seems to be going well for white. White connected here. So this complicated it to a great degree. So black plays here because white is not alive and is surrounded now. So potentially this is going to be a semi-eye. So white plays here. So the semi-eye was very close. It's going to be a ko of some kind In the game black played here, so this move is going to extend black's liberties. So if white answers it at a14, that exchange would have extended black's liberties. So that was the meaning of that move. If black had played here immediately, this would have been some kind of a ko. So maybe something like this. Yes. So it's relatively easy for white to surround black or reduce black's liberties when white gets to crawl at 4. And it's going to be the ko at 10. White is fighting it very diligently here. The problem is that the reason this is playable for black is because black is getting a lot of forcing moves, you might say, from the outside. So those stones that black is playing at 15 and 21, he's going to eventually be playing a move at m19, which will complete black's territory in the top right. So black's gaining points there. White's probably going to win the ko ultimately and capture the entire black group in the top left. But if black can make a strong attack against white on the right, maybe that group that white has on the right is going to die. So just to go through one variation. Yeah, I only took it this far. So eventually black is still threatening ko threats such as p8. And white is sort of running out of ko threats. Next turn, like let's say, next time it's going to turn into a direct ko. So like this. Next, black h15 will capture the white group. So it becomes a direct ko, which maybe black can win. So this would be some kind of trade where either black breaks through, white's sort of running out of ko threats. So it's hard to say how this would turn out. But even if white wins the ko, maybe everything's going to die on the right side, which would be winnable for black. Or if black wins the ko, then of course it depends on what white gets in return. So this would be, I would call it undecided. So it could have been this ko, but instead black backed away from that. And this gave white an opportunity to live. So white lived here. Important that white increase the value of this potential fight in the center before living. And black is going to live with a ko. So this move here, if black takes the 2 stones, white can play here. And locally it's not alive. White might play an Atari once first. And so if black plays here, again, it doesn't have room to be alive. So this move allowed black to make something like a second eye, only it's going to be a ko. So if white plays an Atari at a6, this black group is going to be a ko. Black has a ko threat at a11. And if white loses the ko, it's going to be damaging to the corner. So white wants a really high quality ko threat to fight this ko. So back to the game. White played the connection here. So white's going to attack black in the center first. And the idea is that if white gets the perfect ko threat in the center of the board, then white is going to play a6 and go after black's group in the top left. If nothing bad happens to black, black has an area in the top right, and of course the area on the bottom side. So black has some big areas here. White's group on the top side is just 2 eyes. So black hasn't really been damaged yet if black can live on the left side. So it all depends on how white's ko threat in the center of the board here works out. So black jumped and white played here. So with this move, it seems that white's plan was to sort of push along that 8th line there and eventually maybe save white's group on the bottom side. So this was his idea. It doesn't really incorporate the idea of playing the ko at some point because black is escaping with good shape. So it's sort of difficult for white to find enough valid ko threats against this black group. So this, maybe it was a mistake. And an easier way for white to win would be to play here. And this would be threatening to capture the black group outright. And playing a double hane here. Black cannot break through towards the bottom side. So black has to break through towards the center. And this would have the effect of strengthening white's group in the center. So that's one thing. And also white would have co-threats, escaping the ladder. So white would have a number of co-threats here in the center, which would continue to be big for 2 or 3 more co-threats. So, and they would have the advantage of strengthening white in the center too. So this would be a winning variation for white. This was probably the easiest way for white to win the game at this point. And just a few years ago, you never saw SHIN Jinseo messing up after having a winning position. He's starting to look maybe a little bit more fallible than he used to be. So white pushed all the way through here. Black finished the living on the left side, and white got to push through here. So for the time being, it's sort of difficult for black to try to save those 2 stones. It would be very damaging to black's position on the bottom side. So it's a trade. So white has saved the group on the bottom side. Black is getting a lot back towards the center. So actually, Katago was suggesting that black played here, but instead of that, black was apparently winning, even if he plays something more solid, like one of these 2 knight moves, just capturing white in the center. This would have the advantage of giving a good aji to black, and it would mean that white would not be able to live in the top right corner. So this would be the good aji way of playing. Katago was saying that this was black's best way to win the game. And it turns out that the trade here, where black is getting so much towards the center and the top right, it was not profitable for white. So just to go back again, that other variation where white was going to use the ladder to finish the ko and capture the whole area, the whole black group, and the top left maybe. This would have been the winning variation. In the game, white lost that opportunity. And although Katago was saying that moves like this would win, they would probably be relatively close game. And there's a reason for black to play here. So we're going to see how that works. He had a valid reason to play this move, which is weakening white's local position. So black did give away. It becomes very difficult for black to kill this white group in the top right. But in return, black has set up something on the right side with this cut and escaping here. That aji that black has in regards to the 3 stones on the right side is going to allow black to cut white off on the M line with sente. So that's going to be important in the coming fight. So white's kosumi at J4, that was a tesuji, making miai of capturing black's 5 stones in the center and playing this move. So a beautiful tesuji. You have to be aware that there's this forcing move, which is threatening to connect up at N2. And so that's why white was playing the knight's move at H2, because white doesn't really need the stone at J3. So it's better to have it on the 4th line and then a connection towards the corner. So something like this. It looks like white might even get away with a peep. So that would be, even this peep would connect the white group, it looks like. So that's why it was good to have that stone on the 2nd line. You don't need that. I think intuitively, the first idea would be to play here, but that would just make this even more effective. Okay, so black jumped and white played the knight's move, and black cut white with sente and then played here. So black has a winning position at this point. So black's going to capture white in the center of the board and win the game. It might have been better for black to pull back here, in which case if white peeps, it's difficult for white to capture these 2 stones, because basically black's fairly well connected. And also if black plays here, this is threatening to play at J3 next. So that would kill white on the bottom side. So black can afford to sacrifice the 2 stones in this case. So that's one way black could have won. Actually, it's interesting, if black connects here, it looks like black's still going to win the semi in the center of the board, maybe by 1 move difference. but then white would squeeze, and the result would be, it would be hard to say how it turns out. So it's actually better for black to extend down here. And maybe black's not going to kill the center, but maybe black's going to kill the lower left corner or the bottom side. And one of those would be a winning variation for black. So black plays the Komi. This is also a key shape move. It's threatening to cut off the 4 white stones in the center. So these 4 stones are not completely connected to white on the left. There is some weakness in the connection here. So at this point, black connected. And then when white played the Atari here, black was in trouble. So the mistake was the connection there. Maybe black could still win by pulling back here. So in this case, white would cut. White's still 1 move away from living in the center. So white needs 1 more stone at G10, which would, a stone here would live. This would create a living shape for white in the center. For the time being, black has to worry about race to capture. So black would extend down here. This is actually threatening to kill the corner with B3. So if white answers something like this, black would play here, and white's not going to live in the corner. Or if white plays something defensive in the corner, black can still play here. And this would be threatening a connection at N2 or maybe H3. And it could get a bit complicated. It looks like maybe it's going to be a win for black, though. So this was the something that would have worked. It would have been very complicated, but it would have been probably a win for black. Black connected. White played here. So if black connects here, white's going to play here. And there's no way to capture this stone. So black would just push through. Maybe like this. And black would capture white on the bottom side, but it would be a race to capture. So black would be forced to put some stones in. Black wins the semi because white still has to save these 4 stones. So they're not, white's not going to be able to win the semi. So the fighting will spread to the top right, and probably not so good for black because black gave up a lot of territory towards the lower left corner in order to capture these white stones. So not a great success for black when white is getting profit in the lower left and is going to be able to do something in the top right also. So black made this trade. So the complications continue, but it's not simple for black because although black can win the semi easily on the bottom side, the connection towards the center is far from perfect. So this would be a collapse for black in which black would have to sacrifice 6 stones in the center. So that would be bad. It means black has to play this Atari. In turn, that means that now black is going to have more difficulty winning the semi. So black covers here. And this was a key point. So there's white could have played a different order of moves, playing an Atari at 1. In this case, if black plays here, this would be a key point, a vital shape point to win the semi on the bottom side. But for the time being, white has left this. So that's why you might say that's why white did not play the Atari at 3 in this diagram, the Atari at G4. But he could have played it if he played this peep first. This would have also been a valid variation. So he could have done it this way. It's very similar. Okay, so white is connected towards the corner, and it's a semi on the bottom side. That peep that white played at L2 was very important because now it's going to be a ko. So it could have been a seki. Only the seki is not so good for black when black's group on the left towards the center is not alive. So if black had just simply played here and played here, this would be a seki. So that would end the semi, and black would have to put a stone in here, and white would return to the top right, making making a living shape or connecting up to the center. And the bottom line is white saved the whole area on the bottom side. So that's going to be a win for white. Okay, so black plays the ko. So this semi on the bottom side, let's just move forward a bit. In this shape, it's a win for white. So white is one move ahead. And white got a co-threat towards the corner. So at this point, well, as soon as white established this ko on the bottom side, it was already a winning variation for white. Okay, so this was a forcing move, setting up a connection at N14. So here, yeah, white could have, maybe white could have killed the black group. There would be a shortage of liberties for white, so if black covers here, the semi on the right side, it gets sort of messy. But the fact that black is so short of liberties on the right side means this would also have been a winning variation for white. A larger difference, but he just played the safe move. So at this point, SHIN Jinseo is just saying that he's winning anyway. So he's playing a safe move, just keeping the status quo with that semi on the right side. White's kick here in the center. This actually, it saved white's 4 stones. So black can still capture the 4 stones, but that would lose more towards the center. So this would be bad for black. So in effect, this is saving the 4 stones. It's connecting to the 4 stones on the right. So a few final moves. And white, just to finish the semi on the right side. This is where black resigned. But if we just fill some liberties here, at this point, black has to fill a liberty here. White can even fill the inside liberty. So white's winning by two stone difference. That's because during the fighting, white got to fill an extra liberty here. So before white had played that move in the fight towards the top right, at that point already white was winning by 1 move. At this point, white is winning by 2 moves. Because if white plays away, white can still win from this side. So that's why white was winning by 2 moves. So that was the game between SHIN Jinseo and Ding Hao. And so it was SHIN Jinseo's 18th straight win in this tournament. So he's won 5 tournaments for Korea since the 22nd NONGSHIM Cup, and this is the 26th. So he's won for Korea 5 times now, and a total of 18 games, a winning streak, which is setting a world record. Thank you for watching to the end, and I'll continue to make videos. See you next time.